experience, is it a serious problem, or?
I think it's a serious problem. If you, not only in our school, but in Dutch society, if you look at the elections last week.
The election is for...
Yes.
Is it the wielders?
Yeah, it's almost the biggest of Holland, and it's got nothing to do, in my vision, with Europe, but it's got everything to do with Holland, with the situation in our country, and people being scared of, they're xenophobic.
I noticed in the market yesterday there were so many women wearing the scarf. Is this? I mean, is this all over Holland, or just Tilburg has?
Not all over.
All over.
But what I want is what you said about the books. What I was struck me the most is when I'm talking with my colleagues, who I think they're all teachers, they're highly educated, but still they have prejudice against Islam because they don't read because they read the popular books like the one from Hans Johnson, and they have ideas. I remember one example 4 or 5 years ago when Islamic girls came into my class. They came from another teacher, and they said they were completely flabbergasted, and they really couldn't understand what the teacher said. She said about girls being circumcised. The teacher said it's an Islamic habit to circumcise girls. And I had to, and the Islamic girls were really upset about it, because they said, well, I'm not, and how can it? And so I had to explain to the girls that it's something more about it. It's not an Islamic habit, it's something, it comes from, but it struck me that the teachers, they say that from their own prejudice and from their own misinformation. I wrote about it in an article, paper from ethics also, that when 2 girls in my class started to wear headscarves, the teacher said, oh no, not them also. They are under the influence of. Now, there's nobody who wants to go and talk with these girls. Why do you do it? They have their, well, they are also like that.
Well, I really, I mean, from a moral point of view, this is exactly why I accepted, you're a teacher, you know how it is, I'm just done with the academic year at UCLA, and so, and I'm looking forward to the summer break, but to teach some more is actually something you do, it takes and my motivation is exactly to try. I wish I could reach more people like you. I really do. I wish that I had the class full of especially educators at this critical point. But I of course, you have so much on your plate. So let me know whatever I can do to make things easier. I mean, I don't mind you being late or coming whenever you can. This thing is taped, so I'll be happy to do whatever possible to make recordings available to you. And I can also there's perhaps of all my work, the one that was that responds most to the type of concerns and problems you're dealing with is the great theft.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Interesting. The great theft, which was written for that purpose, although it hasn't received a single negative review from any respectable source. I mean, Foreign Affairs reviewed it, but there was in the United States, I don't know, there was a considerable political pressure was created to prevent the placement of the book in big chains like Borders or Barnes and Noble, and that is a very fascinating story in itself. You know, so it does, yeah, it's quite, so the short of it is, although I think the book is, it has not done well in the market. I am not a rich person because of that book. Very much unlike people who write, books like While Europe Slept and so on. And the other thing is that anything, because I'm as a Muslim intellectual, I am concerned about. I am an insider to the tradition. Do not hesitate to stop me and ask me about straightforward, simple issues. Like, for instance, what does Islamic law say about circumcision, female circumcision? This is perhaps one of the few benefits of dealing with someone like me, is that I know the legal evidence by heart for, against, what different jurists said from 1400 years ago till today. So you can consider me a computer that you can just type. I'll be happy to oblige.
There's something you ask about radicalization in our
Yes.
youth, but I see it only marginal on by the Dutch. Like I said, we don't know what's underneath, but I also see it a lot by the Moroccan girl, especially the girls. I only teach girls up until now. Next year I have to start with the boys also. But a few weeks ago I was teaching in history class about the Middle Ages and the upcoming of the Islam. And I was comparing, we have done Jewish tradition, we have done Christianity, we know Islam. And then one of the Moroccan girls said, Jews are our enemies. And I was really struck by that, because how can you say that? And that's something they learn from home also. So when I said to her, there are Jews living in Morocco, she said, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. But also we have parents who come in, and my colleagues have problems with it. Fathers who don't shake hands.
Oh yeah. Well,
and things like that. But they.
Yeah, it is actually. This is. I mean, I do bring these questions up because I could, like, something as simple as shaking hands. I can tell you everything you need to know, and probably more than you care to know.
Well, I'm very interested because.
Because and what part is law, what part is culture, what part of is interpretation, what part is history, what part of. The thing is, there is no question that. And this is part of a larger conversation we'll be having, is that there is no question that there is a reciprocal radicalization, and the whole, I don't believe that Wahhabism and its theology is spreading simply because they have money. They're performing a social function, and the question though for a conscientious human being is how to deal with breaking this cycle. I mean, the remarkable thing is that history tells us what the end result of these cycles are. It's always the same: violence, and misery and bloodshed, and then after human beings create a lot of misery and suffering, then they sort of go back and revisit the ideas that they had rejected so adamantly in their radicalization stage. There has to be a way that we can, it's like friends in the United States that say, well, in the United States there was racism against blacks, or there is racism, and we did this and this, and then there was racism against the Japanese, and we put them in internment camps, and there was racism against the Chinese, and we passed the exclusion laws, and there was racism against Jews, and we had laws that kicked them out of New York. But eventually things are okay, and I say this actually is an argument for human failure, because if this narrative, if what you're saying is true, then wouldn't it follow that since we keep going through the same cycle of ignorance and idiocy and misery, and then learn and do it right, that we have done it enough times that we can break the cycle and we don't have to do it all over again to a new group of people. I absolutely. I mean, and it even goes beyond. I don't know anything about the fellow that was here. I think maybe he left before you.
Yes.
I
He had an appointment with somebody else here.
Oh, he did. Okay, but quite often, people like myself, their the harshest battles they lead are not with the Islamophobes or the Islam haters. It is with those who see them either from a leftist secular perspective as what they call the native informant, basically someone who sold to the white power structure and is coming to sort of please the white establishment, or from a religious perspective, seen as eager to please the West by inventing a version of Islam that the West can accept and like. And these are definitely things that I want us to get into, because often the battle is won and lost exactly on these points. There are a lot of Muslim intellectuals that are heroes in the West, for the West, but have absolutely no impact among Muslims because they've lost that battle. They have not been able to retain their claim over authoritativeness over their own tradition. And so, okay, who will go next?
I follow this class not for taking a grade actually. I just wanna follow and get some knowledge. That's my purpose. Actually, my concern is not Islamic law, sir, but I'm in the Islamic polity. But in Islamic law, I consider myself as a muqallid, if we can say something like that, because the tradition in my family in Indonesia for general. But because I'm doing a thesis now about the interference of Indonesian concept ulama in Indonesian general election, because usually in each general election they have a fatwa concerning each general election, whether it's to support or even to against some discourses. And for this year, they in last January they have a fatwa to forbid vote abstention. They said that vote abstention is a haram. They said like that. So that's I want to talk about.
This MA thesis?
It's in my thesis. Actually, I'm doing in the 3 general election, 99 general election, 2004, and this year general election.
Have you written any part of this yet? Or?
Not yet, sir. Not yet, because I'm still doing the classes, and my classes is finished. Now I'm doing the paper for my classes. Probably August until February, because I still have 1 semester more. So that particular time I will write my thesis.
This is a very, very interesting topic. Very interesting topic.
I hope so. I hope so that my supervisor is Professor Van Day. So yeah, I think you know him. Yes, as my friend, I'm starting to read your books, and because I heard your name and many Indonesian fellow, speak about you, and also one of my friend took a class which also discussed about your article. So my basic concern is about Indonesian Islam, especially about Islam and politics. I told you before that I'm in, because of my family influence, I'm a bit kind of a bit more normative. But in terms of thought, I'm very liberal. But if returns to my heart about Islamic faith, I'm a bit careful about that. So I also read about some of, in your book, and also what you said now. I'm very interested with that, about the normative. That I'm normative, but in terms of maybe more different, maybe more critical. But still, I still look for legal basis for doing something. As long as it is written and there are legal basis, I think it's okay. But in these days, sometimes they have more thought to be more speculative, more liberal. Indonesia is now more diverse in thought, but recently we have more fundamental movements. That's why I took, and it is mentioned that you will talk about more fundamental and more kind of violence movement, and that's why I'm very interested in this way, because in Indonesia recently they have kind of a lot of movement about Hizb ut-Tahrir and others, and of course I'm trying to kind of make an impact in the future, to be more have a strong support to the Indonesian Islam, more native Indonesian Islam, to against this movements, because they're not doing in the extra parliament movement, but they also kind of make intra-parliament movement. So they have a party which engage in that kind of movement. So basically, probably if I return, I will work in this institute, Islamic State Institute, and we try to make a discourse in that way. And of course, to make such a discourse, moderate discourse in Indonesia is not an easy way, because even in the Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, they also have a fundamental side. They still, don't accept any sort of liberal thinking, even though this liberal thinking based on legal basis, normative legal basis, but still they don't, accept anything. Even in recent years, Nahdlatul Ulama makes some statement in the national board to prevent their young, fellow to not engage in any liberal thinking. So it's kind of sort of negative, way in Malaysia nowadays. But still, we have many fellow that have the same thinking in Muhammadiyah, also in Nahdlatul Ulama. So,
of course. Do you know what liberal thinking is?
What they're doing in Indonesia.
Well, when you referred several times to liberal ideas or liberal thinking, and in your mind, when you use the word liberal, do you have a definition for it?
That's a bit difficult to describe. But in my opinion, it does more engage to more speculative thinking. In my opinion,
Speculation.
Yeah, it's more on speculation, because about the nowadays, like our liberal thinker in Indonesia, we have a kind of a group, namely liberal Islam, and many Muslims attack this kind of group.
Right.
Actually, it is okay, but in some ways, what they're doing, in my opinion, is not really peacefully promote. They do it in media, but don't think about the sociological, innocent people. So that's why many people against this kind of movement. In my opinion, if this movement engage more peacefully and understand about the culture of innocent people, it will be good.
Well, these are actually, these are very pertinent issues to discuss, because any agenda for social change, it always has to confront the question, right? Any change will involve reorganization of social structures, and quite often social political structures. And on the one, let's say a revolutionary says, I have ideal, and I think this ideal is worth very high level of sacrifice. Yeah. On the other hand, let's say a passive reformer would say, well, it would be good if we do this or do that, but we go very slow, and because the cost is, any cost possibly is prohibitive, or disruption is a greater evil than the good that is brought by the change. So, we